because xEnviros are powered by Jetline systems.
Hello YouTube, this is Frugal, and this is the default Baron in X-Plane 11, but it's kind of not the default, but it is. What I'm doing here is I've been really trying recently with X-Plane 11 to get it where I'm comfortable with it, and that means adding in a lot more add-ons so I can bring it up to the same level that I have in Prepared or even FSX. So that means adding in decent weather, adding in realistic aircraft, adding in realistic effects and cameras and all that good stuff. And you've seen some of my efforts there, like I put up the X camera video a while ago, and you're looking at X camera right now zipping around this or orbiting around this default Baron. But I say it is and it's not the default Baron because I'm running the Simcoders Reality Expansion Pack for the default Baron, which is all these icons here. What the Reality Expansion Pack does is it takes really quite boring and easy and simple aircraft, usually honestly the Coronado ones, and transforms them into near study levels. So in the case of the default Baron here, it adds realistic speeds for all phases of flight. It does a realistic simulation of both engines, realistic simulation of the oil systems, including oil viscosity. It has a persistent damage model. You can damage this aircraft. There is a maintenance mode. There is a walk-around mode. Everything you would expect from a study level GA aircraft on Prepared or FSX, you get if you add a Simcoder Reality Expansion Pack to an aircraft in X-Plane. Only a limited handful of aircraft support it. This is one of the ones that I've got. I've actually got two. I've got the ASDG Cub as well that I need to do a video on. Let me show you what this does. So we have a kneeboard here where I can access my checklists and I can page through them and go back, which is kind of cool. I have emergency checklists here as well, which is great, and I've got a reference board. Wonderful stuff. I can also access the walk around, and I can do a pre-flight or a post-flight walk around, also do a lights check and all that good stuff. We'll get into that in a minute. I can tow the aircraft, so I can drag it out of a hangar if it's in a hangar realistically. And I have the maintenance report. Let's go into the maintenance report because I have been abusing this aircraft a little bit. And we can see here, so far everything looks good. No problems here. Yep, everything's good. I can mount, look at this, I can mount cowl fairings if I wish. Great, weather is warm, the kit's not recommended. Yes, we're in Florida. We're actually in Sanford right now, Orlando, Sanford. Let's move on. Oh, I have a problem with my ADF receiver 1. That started to fail. The reason it started to fail was I was a little bit lax at powering down the aircraft last time. And as a result, broke some of the avionics. So we'll go ahead and fix that. I always think that on aircraft that have something like this, a maintenance thing, be it Reality Expansion Pack stuff or the A2A study level stuff as well, the AccuSim stuff, that there really should be a cost of ownership chart in here somewhere. So everything you break and fix, it should keep a running count of how much money you've spent. That would be kind of cool. Anyway, all struts and the left, right, and front struts all look good. Actuator and disc all look good. So other than that little failure on my ADF, I'm looking good. I can change the oil I'm using, by the way. As I said, this simulates oil viscosity, so I can go from SAE 30 to 10W30 to SAE 50. I can clean my oil filter if I like. I've got 97 hours to go before I need to change it. The level of detail in this is pretty darn astounding. I can also do automatic engine start, which I'm not going to do. Now, in my quest to make X-Plane more comfortable for me, this is only one of the things I've added. X camera is the other thing. You've already seen a video on that. The next thing doesn't actually film very well because I tend to record in 4K and then downscale. And by the way, I've had a number of comments saying, why would you downscale? Why not just upload the 4K video? Because, dear peoples, I've seen my YouTube stats and I know that a mere handful of you have 4K monitors. The rest don't. So why would I go to all the hassle of uploading a 20 gigabyte video file? It doesn't make any sense. Plus, I think it actually looks pretty good 4K downscaled to 1080p. Plus, I can get away with little tricks on 4K that you don't notice when it gets downscaled, like I'm not running anti-aliasing to speed up the sim. Anywho, the other thing that I was going to show you, though, is if we go into Fly with Lua, I actually have XPRealisitic Pro, which doesn't film very well in 4K. It does this. So you end up with kind of duplicated displays. This is the one, this is the one that works, this is the one that doesn't. But what XPRealistic does is it adds cockpit environmental effects. So noise from drag of the various air surfaces, head shake, your pilot responding to G effects on the airframe, stuff like that. I've got that running for most of my aircraft as well now. And it's pretty good. I like it. I've also got, notice the sky up here. a weather engine. Now, this is xEnviro, which is at once, I think, probably the best environmental weather engine there is available for XPlane 11, and on the other hand, is also probably the most controversial. Controversial because it's $70. It's not cheap, and it only does live weather. You will only get weather for the airport at the current time of day. You can't set historical weather. You can't customize it. You are locked in to the current weather. But anyway, this is version 1.09, which is not in any way finished. It's an ongoing updating thing. And in 1.08, the guys behind xEnviro actually completely rewrote the whole thing using C and C++ to speed it up and make it more efficient. The results are pretty astounding. I'm digging it. It really does make everything a lot more realistic in terms of cloud textures, sky colors, and all sorts of stuff like that. It also simulates accurate winds aloft, also simulates accurate precipitation, accurate clouds, an infinite variety of clouds and cloud layers as well. It is very, very, very good. I can bring up some of the stuff that it does here, actually. If I open settings, you can see here, I can turn on weather settings, cloud settings, effects, and sound. Typically, I actually have the sounds off. I don't know why this keeps on defaulting to on, and the reason I have them off is that XPRealisitic has its own sounds as well, and I don't really want the two kind of interfering. For now, I think we'll leave that as it is. Weather update interval is 5 minutes, so it's updating pretty rapidly. In fact, let's make this not update so rapidly, because I like the weather it's currently got set, and I don't want it to change. And living in Florida, weather can change in a heartbeat there. Pretty good stuff. There's presets for all these things: easy mode or real mode on the weather, light optimum, maximum for the clouds. Effects are simple or full, and sound settings. You have disable, optimum, and maximum. In fact, I am going to disable the sound settings and click on done. Anyway, let's jump into this aircraft and we'll start getting this ready to go. Now, I do have track IR on. I am actually going to disable that for now while we work through these checks. So if I open the walk around first of all. Oh, let's get out of the walk around. My bad. First thing I actually do want to do is actually do want track IR on and turn off the yoke. Makes life a lot easier. There we go. Okay, so walk around. Control lock is removed. Parking brake is not set. Is set. What's going on here? Why can't I set that? Let's say that it's set. Excellent. Oh, my bad. I can't set parking brake because chocks are already out and all that good stuff. My apologies. Anyway, let's go back into the walk around. So can't set the parking brake right now. All switches should be off, which they currently are, and the trim tab set to 0. Well, close, but we'll get onto that once it's powered up. Next, load distribution checked and secured. In the real world, obviously, that would be vitally important. In our world, it doesn't. Static port is clear of obstructions. Control surfaces, clear of obstructions. We can find out by moving the elevator up and down. That's all good. Check the rudder now. Same thing, clear of obstructions. Does it move freely? Yes, it does. And we'll remove that tie down. Now, rear left-hand side, cabin air inlet, is it clear of obstructions? Yes, it is. Cabin air outlet is clear of obstructions. Static port, clear of obstructions, and all antennas and the lower beacon are checked. We could actually do a full lights check as well. Flaps. Yep, they're all looking good. And aileron, again, making sure it's moving and free of obstructions. And now fuel. We have a good amount of fuel, 38 US gallons on board. And the color is this, and there is no water contamination. I can remove the tie down now, remove the chocks, and make our way around to the front of the left-hand wing. So engine oil quantity looks great, and the color looks good, incidentally. Engine cowling, we'll remove that, and the air intake, remove the cover on that, and propeller looks delightful, don't see any problems. Remove the pitot tube cover, good. Taxi light, yep, no damage there. Heater air inlets are checked and cleared, and the current tire status is good. Baggage door is secured. Engine cowling, check. Engine air intake, remove the cover once again. Check the propeller. Yep, all looks good to me. Engine oil, again, it's the right color, right quantity. Tire status is good. Let's remove our chocks from the right-hand side. Remove the tie down. Fuel, 38 gallons on the right-hand side as well, and there's no water contamination. Check the aileron just as before. Check the flaps now. Yep, good. And we're good to go. So we did our pre-flight. We are very much good to go. So let's recenter track IR. Now, let's bring up the knee board and we'll work through the normal operations. So before starting, seats positioned and locked. Well, that's actually a valid check for me I do have to make sure my seat is positioned and locked in the right position, which it is now. Seatbelts and shoulder harnesses are fastened and adjusted. The parking brake now actually can be set. There it is. All avionics switches should be off, and they currently are. Well, actually, these ones here in the default Baron, you can't turn them off, or not I've found, so we'll just say they are, but they're not. Landing gear handle is down. Cowl flap switches should be checked and open. Now they are. Fuel selectors, and another issue with the default Baron, I can't change the fuel selectors, so we'll just say they're on. All circuit breakers, switches, and equipment controls are checked. Battery switch now goes on, and the beacon goes on. There's the beacon there. Fuel quantity indicators, make sure that we have fuel, and we do. Landing gear position light, 3 green. The emergency landing gear hand crank is stowed. So now we can get into the starting section. So what we're going to do is mixture full rich. We're going to set the prop full forward, and we're going to set the throttle full forward. And now we're going to go through the boost pumps, of which there are 2, and make the fuel flow gauges peak, and then turn them off straight away. Watch. There's a peak. You can see the needle's kind of slowing down. It's peaking and off. If you let it run too long, you'll flood the engine. Now we can close the throttle and then open it 1/2 inch. And now we can run through the mags and start the engine. So clear prop. Good. And we're good. Now with those started, we're going to lean the engine a little bit, or we will foul the plugs. It does simulate that. It's a pain in my bottom. And pull the RPM back down to about 1,000. You don't want to be exceeding 1,200 until the engine is warmed up. So with all that done, oil pressure did come up nicely. I was monitoring that. Alternator switches now go on. 1 and 2. I don't know how to check the load meters and voltmeter in this default aircraft. I don't think they're working. So we'll move on. Avionics now can go on. Like I said, I can't turn these off, so they're just going to power up. And we'll turn on the transponder over here. And brakes, release, and check. Well, we're going to do that when we taxi. But first, let's tune ATIS.
Orlando Sanford Information X-ray. 2200 Zulu weather. Wind calm, visibility more than 10. Sky clear, temperature 22, dew point -1. Altimeter 2994. Arriving runway 27 left, departing runway 27 left. Advise on initial contact, you have X-ray.
Alright, so we're landing and taking off on 27 left, which is this runway heading that way. Very easy for us to get to. So, without further ado, let's turn on our nav lights. I am going to turn on the panel lights. It is late in the evening. We'll turn on the taxi lights. Not going to run out of pitot heats just yet. Recenter track IR, the bane of my life. Check on the left, clear on the left, clear on the right. In fact, before we go, let's also raise those flaps up. Somebody left them in the down position. Not very thoughtful or helpful. We'll push in the parking brake now, and away we go. So brake check once we start moving. Yep, brakes are working. That little view judder there, that would be XPRealisitic, kicking in with G-force based head effects, which is kind of cool. Now, I'm not in any way, shape or form an expert with the Baron. I am very much still learning it, but I didn't want to take too long messing around on this and trying to get stuff as good as I possibly can. I thought I would actually get a video done sooner rather than later, because I'm pretty happy with where I currently have X-Plane. I'm also running Ortho for XP scenery. Ortho for XP, if you don't know, is a free tool that you download. Then it downloads orthographic imagery for regions that you select of the world, and then transforms it into X-Plane scenery, complete with overlays. If you know what you're doing, I might have to do a little video on that, but there are plenty of better ones than I could do out there, worth checking out. I have, I mean, that's wrong. That should be there. There are various resolutions you could do, and I had zoom level 16, which those of you who use Ortho for XP know what that means. It's a good balance between performance in terms of producing the scenery and file size. I decided for this video to change that. I'm using zoom level 18 all around Florida here, which gives me a crazy amount of data. It's about 100 gigabytes just for a very small region of Florida. But I think the effects once you get up in the air are pretty astounding. Let's bring up our kneeboard once again. I'm going to turn around here. That's not the runway. This is the runway we're coming up to now. We're not going to need the full length of the runway. We might as well take it from here. So what I'm going to do is go over to the before takeoff checks. Ease up on the throttle. Gently apply some brakes. Bit of a shudder there. And parking brake on. So boost pumps can stay off. All instruments are checked. They all look good. Fuel indicators quantity checked. Yes, we're still looking good there. Okay, so mixture now. Full rich. Engines all the way up to 2200 RPM on the throttle only. There's RPM there. There's my 2200 RPM. I'm going to exercise the throttle props now. Well, what we do is we pull the props back to about 2000. They are not governable under about 2000 in a Baron. They don't go all the way back to 0. That would be feathering them. So yeah, we are exercising. They are responding nicely. Whoop, a little bit too low. We're good. So now we bring the engines back to 1700 RPM, which is there, and we'll check the magneto. So good, very small drop, and a very small drop, but we don't have any stuttering or anything like that. Good. Good. Now we bring it back to 1500 and we'll check for prop feathering, which is where you do pull the props all the way back and listen for that characteristic feather sound. There it is. Yep, they're feathering just fine. So now, throttle us to idle and note the RPM. Should be around about 600 or 700. See the RPM coming down to about 700, then power back up to about 1000 and lean once again. There, we're going to set the electric trim down to 0 for takeoff. That was a crazy amount of trim actually. There. 0 for takeoff. Flaps now get set for takeoff. Let's check our lights. So landing lights can go on. Strobes can go on, pitot heat can go on. Doors and windows are closed and locked. Parking brake now goes off. We'll take the runway and take off. There's no traffic here. I'm not using ATC or anything that I need to worry about like that. So we will just take to the runway and go. Even so, we'll check on the left. It is good. It's clear on the right as well. One problem I am still having with X-Plane is keeping the aircraft straight on the runway. I don't know whether it's a problem with my rudder pedals or my brakes. It does tend to want to slalom all over the place. I particularly have that problem when I'm landing. Hopefully today we can avoid that. So I'm just going to go full power takeoff. Great mixture full rich when we do this as well. And then we're going to trim the aircraft for 105 knots climbing. And then props back to 2500. Here we go. So full power. There's the slalom, trying desperately to keep this thing somewhat centered. See what I mean? I don't know what's up with that. I might have some interaction between my rudder pedals and one of the brakes. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, we are positive ready to climb now, so gear up. And we'll try to trim this for about 105. And what I'll do now is bring the props back to 2500 RPM straight away. Ish. Keep this thing trimmed and we can bring the flaps up now. Look at that beautiful hazing effect. That's xEnviro kicking in there because it has been quite misty and murky here and around Orlando for the past couple of weeks. Wonderful stuff. Oh, my trim is not good at all. I'm going to take this up to pattern altitude about 1500 feet and then we'll turn in the pattern. As we'll turn those taxi lights off now. We'll leave the landing lights on because we are going to stay in the pattern. See how much the aircraft's moving around as well? It's actually quite realistic. I have the turbulence settings on xEnviro turned down because turned up to full, which I'm told is very realistic. The aircraft was almost unmanageable for me, and I think simulation at home on the desktop is a balance of fun and realism. And while it might be ultra realistic, it wasn't particularly fun. I'm going to do a left-hand pattern, probably actually a right-hand pattern from that runway, but not to worry. And look at this beautiful scenery. So this is ortho for XP at zoom level 18, here around Orlando Sanford, which is mainly grassland and swamp. Some roads that I commute on my motorcycle every day. Incidentally, have started a new channel. I repurposed the Frugal Pete channel, so youtube.com/Frugal Pete. I repurposed that to cover my other passion, which is adventure motorcycling, or motorcycling, but it's going to become adventure motorcycling. Do check it out and subscribe. trying to get that channel back on its feet. But as I said in the intro on that channel, it doesn't affect Frugal Sim. As you can clearly see here in this Frugal Sim video, look at that beautiful, beautiful scenery. So here we are now up in the air, experiencing the full effects of XPRealisitic in terms of environmental effects in the cockpit, and xEnviro in terms of winds and haze and clouds and cloud variety outside of the cockpit. And it's pretty staggering. I really am enjoying where I have X-Plane up to right now. It's pretty cool. No complaints at all. Look at this. The aircraft just feels so natural. It feels so alive in the air, which is one of the reasons I've started to use X-Plane more. Now, I'm not giving up on Prepared. I will still be doing a lot of Prepared videos. There are some fantastic products that I still need to review in Prepared, let alone stuff that's coming out. For example, the A2A Connie. Not done a video on that yet. I will, once I figure out what the hell I'm doing. Lots of cool aircraft still in Prepared, so I'm not going to give up on that. I have pretty much given up on FSX because it's just a fight. It's just a pain to try to get everything squeezed into that sim to make you look good, and you end up taking hours and hours and hours to even prepare the sim before you even go flying, for me anyway, which is just not good. I am digging though X-Plane. Now I've started to really put some time into it and really look at add-ons, not just aircraft but some scenery add-ons, look at free scenery as well, and look at environmental stuff like xEnviro, like XPRealistic. Really digging it, really digging it. Alright, not going to mess with the checklist for this, just going to do a very quick circuit just to show you how this performs, hopefully on the landing. I always screw this up, I'll try not to today. We'll reduce the power a little bit. A bit of a balloon there, and as the speed drops beneath 152, we'll be able to lower the first stage of flaps, or approach flaps, and we'll start our descent. Trying to keep an eye on the runways, there it is. A little bit less power now. We did leave the landing lights on, so no worries there. Down to 1400, coming up on 1300. Speed has dropped nicely, so approach flaps. That will cause us to balloon a little bit. There it goes. We'll check. The flaps are out. Oh, I can't see the runway. There it is. And a little bit less speed now, and as we come around here, gear down. Full flaps. Prop full, mixture rich. Really trimming the nose down now. The addition of all the flaps with the Simcoders realism pack dramatically affects the flight model of this aircraft now. You see a little bit of shake on the airframe as the speed drops. You can hear the sound of the wind. That's XPRealistic. All these little add-ons working together in unison. Beautiful. Let's see if I can't do an alright landing, I guess. Look at that. I don't like somehow how light transitions. The end result is really nice, but I don't like how sudden it can be at times. A little bit of a crosswind here, strangely. Trim the aircraft. We're not in a stable descent. Stable descent meaning I could take my hands off the controls and it will continue descending at the speed that we want it to descend at, which is kind of about there, actually. Look, Ma, no hands. Still got to work on that. I really do want to work on stable descents. It's an area that I struggle with in the sim. When I was reading the MD-80 manuals, and they define very clearly what a stable descent in the MD-80 is, the Leonardo Mad Dog, and I would like to put a lot more time in and practice that. Here we come. Down now, easing up on the power, flight flare. There we go. And the Simcoders Realism Pack does simulate tire wear and landing gear and how it all works together. If you stick it too hard, you will cause yourself problems, and they are persistent. So the next time you use the aircraft, you'll spot that on the walk around, and if you don't deal with it, you could have some serious problems the next time you try to land. Worth bearing in mind. Now we are on the ground, so I am going to lean this a little bit so we don't foul the plugs. We'll bring those flaps all the way back up now, and we'll turn on the taxi lights. We'll turn off the strobes once we get off the runway. That's where we want to be, I think. Is that right? It's getting late here. It's hard to tell. That looks like a runway to me. That's not a taxi route. That's no moon. Let's continue a little bit. I think it's down here. I can see some blue lights heading off to the side there. Looking for the turn-off line. There it is. Follow the yellow brick road. We'll just turn around here. The Simcoders reality expansion pack as well also improves ground handling. You can see the aircraft bumping around a little bit realistically, which is great. All right, so as we get here and we exit the runway, we'll just stop there. Bring the power up, make sure we're trimmed a little bit. So let's turn off these landing lights. We'll turn off the strobe light. Everything else is looking good so far. We can turn off torpedo heats at this point. Let's go ahead and taxi. And then we'll walk through the shutdown, which I've not actually done. Which is why I managed to break my avionics last time. Because I've never done the shutdown the way I should. A little bit more power. In fact, what I did last time was I tried to record this video and it was raining and it was horrible. I don't like the rain effects in xEnviro. For a $70 environmental weather package, I think the rain effects, which they tout as a feature, could be much, much better. They are atrocious, in my opinion. You can't see anything. It's not realistic. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. I think they need to do some work on that. And I'm sure they will. The one good thing, or not the one, another great thing with that package that is constantly supported, and the developers are committed to producing something great there. So no doubt at all that things like that will improve over time. I am digging this. This is the first recorded flight I've done in one of the major sims. So X-Plane, FSX, or Prepared, using a default aircraft. The addition of that Simcoders reality expansion pack really does make this a challenging and fun experience. I highly recommend it. It's not very expensive. I forget what it is. It's about $19, I think it is, from the xplane.org store. Well worth it. In fact, any aircraft you see coming out with a reality expansion pack built in, like the ASDG Super Cup, is well worth it. And if you have any of the Coronado aircraft, then do check out the org store. You might find a Simcoders pack for it. Anyway, kneeboard. Let's go ahead and drop on over here. Landing. So we've done all this. After landing, flaps are up. Trim tabs now need to get set back to 0. There they are. I'm actually revving a little bit too much. Cow flaps should be open. They are. I left them open because it's very warm here. Not going to run the boost pumps. Parking brake is set. Props are high RPM. Throttles are at 1000 RPM. Fuel boost pumps are off. Electrical and avionics equipment now goes off. So this one we can turn off. These ones I really cannot turn off. I'm sorry. So we'll just turn off the avionics switch now. Like so. Mixture controls now go to idle cutoff. Whoops, that's the prop. Mixture controls, idle cutoff. And there they go. So magneto switches, both to off. There we go. Battery and alternator switches now go all the way off. Should probably kill some more of these with lights down here. Now we can kill the battery switch. And finally, we can do the shutdown walk around. So, walk around, post flight. Pitot, remove cover, examine. Well, actually, no, we're going to put it back. Next, tie down, we'll put that back. Tie down, put that back. Chocks, we'll put the chocks in. Engine cowling, all looks good, didn't damage anything. We will add the cover, and the propeller still looks lovely, so it's a pretty nice landing. And again here, toggle the cover, and chocks. We'll throw the chocks back in. Tire status is still good. It was a nice landing. Toggle the tie down on that side, and we're good to go. And that's it. So just a quick video, really, showing you what I'm doing with X-Plane, some of the add-ons I've got installed, and how they all work together in unison. I'm pretty happy with the whole damn thing. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Until next time, though, my name is Frugal. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I will see you all very soon. Do check out youtube.com/FrugalPete.